All righty, guys. All righty, all righty, all righty. Let's check this out here. I'm going to show you some fun, exciting stuff that I'm really excited about. It's going to be fun to look at. I can figure out how to get this going here. Yes, it should be right in here somewhere. All right, here we go. I just saw it. Slideshow. Slideshow from beginning. Okay, so here we go. We're looking at the Nile River here from the beginning here. Let's just check it out. I can't get it from stay there. So from start. Yes, here's the Nile River. There's the delta up at the top, the Nile River. It's beautiful. This is an actual picture from space. Here is what you're used to seeing, a map of Egypt with the Nile River flowing through it. There's a little delta. So there's the delta. That's the real deal. This is the map. See, a little bit different. And this is a close-up version of what it may be like on a daily life in Egypt. Oh, look at this. Look at the desert. And there you'll see this is called red land and black land. Talk about in a second. All right, get your notes out. Let's get this started. Let's get this started. Let's get this started. Let's just minimize this. We'll keep it here later. All right, guys, go ahead and put your name at the top of your notes. I'm going to put mine right here. Don't put my name. All right, here we go, here we go, here we go. Settling the Nile. We're going to be looking at the year 6000. All right, we're going all the way to 5000 BCE. So we have hunters and food gatherers moved into the green Nile River Valley from less fertile areas of Africa and Southwest Asia. They settled down, farmed the land, and created several dozen villages. That's right. That's what you live in, villages. Ooh, I can't spell. Don't tell your English teacher I can't spell. Villages. All right. Along the riverbanks. These people became the earliest Egyptians. Uh-oh, there's a bell. All right, don't go anywhere. Stay right here. All right, which is a mighty river. Although Egypt was warm and sunny, the land received little rainfall. For water, the Egyptians had to rely on you heard it again, you'll hear it 5 more times at least, the Nile River. They drank from it, they bathed in it, and used it for farming, cooking, and cleaning. The river provided fish and supported plants and animals. To the Egyptians then, the Nile was a precious gift. They praised it in a song. Hail, O Nile, who comes from the earth, who comes to give life to the people of Egypt. Yes, you didn't know I could speak Egyptese? Well, there it goes, right there. All right. Even today, the Nile inspires awe. It is the world's longest river flowing, here's kind of a unique fact, north. It moves up the map, all right, to the Mediterranean Sea. This is a distance of some 4,000 miles. Traveling the length of the river would be like going from Athens, Alabama, or Atlanta, Georgia, to San Francisco, California, and then back again. That's a long way. The Nile begins as 2 separate rivers. One is named the Blue Nile, has its source in the mountains of eastern Africa, and the other is named the White Nile, and they are amazing. All right, it starts in marshes in Central Africa. The 2 rivers meet and form the Nile just south of Egypt. There, narrow cliffs and boulders in the Nile form wild rapids that we call cataracts. I'll call them rapids quite often. Because of the cataracts, large ships can use only its last 650 miles where it flows through Egypt, a sheltered land. In Egypt, the Nile runs through a narrow green valley. All right? Whoa, valley. I can't spell. The Nile looks like a long stem of a flower. Oh, so pretty. Shortly before the Nile reaches the Mediterranean Sea, it divides into different branches that look like the flowers blossom. These branches fan out over an area of fertile soil called let me just pause for a second, get my brain right. All right, so the end of the Nile River is called a delta, just like the airline. Its shape is a triangle, just like you see here, and I'll show you later on. On both sides of the Nile Valley and its delta, deserts unfold as far as the eye can see. To the west is a vast desert that forms part of the Sahara, the largest desert in the world. To the east, stretching to the Red Sea, is the eastern desert. In some places, the change from green land to barren land is so abrupt that a person can stand with 1 foot in both. The ancient Egyptians called the deserts the Red Land because of their burning heat. Although these vast expanses could not support farming or human life, they did serve a useful purpose. They kept out outside invaders, away from Egypt's territory. Other geographic features also protected the Egyptians. To the far south, the Nile's dangerous rapids or cataracts blocked the enemy's boats from reaching Egypt. In the north, the delta marshes offered no harbors for invaders. That's right, approaching from the sea. In this regard, the Egyptians were luckier than the people of, who we just learned about, Mesopotamia. In that region, few natural barriers protected the cities. The Mesopotamians constantly had to fight off attackers, especially from each other. But Egypt rarely faced threats. As a result, Egyptian civilization was able to grow and prosper and not change very much. Despite their isolation, the Egyptians were not completely closed to the outside world. The Mediterranean Sea bordered Egypt to the north, and the Red Sea lay beyond the desert to the east. These bodies of water gave the Egyptians a way to trade with people outside Egypt. Within Egypt, people used the Nile for trade and transportation. Winds from the north pushed the sailboats south. The flow of the Nile carried them north. Egyptian villages thus have frequent friendly contact with one another, unlike the hostile relations between the Mesopotamia city-states. Let's talk about the flooding. Like the Mesopotamians, all right, the Egyptians also had to cope with river floods. However, the Nile River was much more dependable and gentle than those of the Tigris and the Euphrates River. As a result, the Egyptians were able to farm and live securely. They did not worry that sudden heavy overflows would destroy their homes and crops, or that too little flooding would leave their fields parched. All right. This is a season when the rains come. Every spring, heavy rains from Central Africa and melting snows from the highlands of East Africa, all right, added to the waters of the Nile as it flows north. From July to October, the Nile spilled over its banks. When the waters went down, they left behind a layer of dark, very fertile mud. Because of these deposits, the Egyptians called the land the Black Land. They loved the fertile, muddy land. All right, how do they use the Nile? The Egyptians took advantage of the Nile's floods to become successful farmers, of course. They planted wheat, barley, and flax seeds in the wet, rich soil. Over time, they grew more than enough food to feed themselves and the animals they raised. One reason for the success was the wise use of irrigation. Irrigation. That's right. Egyptian farmers first dug basins or bowl-shaped holes in the earth to trap the floodwaters. The farmers then dug canals to carry water from the basins to the fields beyond the river's reach. The Egyptians also built dikes or earthen banks to strengthen the basin walls. In time, Egyptian farmers developed other technology to help them in their work. For example, they used a shadoof. Shoop, shoop-a-doof, shoop-a-doof, shoop-a-doof-a-doof, shoop, shoop-a-doof, shoop-a-doof. A bucket attached to a long pole to lift waters from the Niles to the basins. Many Egyptian farmers still use this device today. Here's a hymn to the Nile. This passage is part of a hymn or a song written about 2100 BCE. It shows how important the Nile River was to the people of ancient Egypt. And I'll stop after this. You created the grain, you bring forth the barley, assuring survival to the temples. If you cease your toil or your work, then all existence in anguish.